And being a politician, I have to bring up that I'm not a dual citizen and I have it in writing.
Well, welcome to another episode of A Cup of Tea with Bree, where I get to know some of North Queensland's most amazing parents, incredible business people and inspiring characters. Now, today's guest has been a strong advocate for the far north over the past 20 years. He is passionate about growing our economy and preserving our way of life. So please welcome Dan McCarthy. How are you going, Daniel?
G'day, Bree. How are you?
Look, awesome to have a cup of tea with you today. So I want to get to know you a little bit better. So tell me about your childhood. Where were you born? Let's start there.
Okay. Well, I was actually born in Singapore.
Singapore?
Yeah, I am.
I wasn't expecting that.
And being a politician, I have to bring up that I'm not a dual citizen and I have it in writing.
Singapore would have been a great place to have your childhood. How long were you there for?
Well, I only had a couple of weeks there, actually.
Okay.
Less than a month. My parents were serving the Australian Defence Force, and they just happened to be, they spent some time in Butterworth in Malaya, and then were in Singapore for a short stint on their way home, and that's where I hatched.
Oh, accidentally.
So, yeah.
You're an accidental Singapore birth.
Yeah, so I was just hatched there on their way home pretty much, and
some extra baggage for them to take back to Australia.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's incredible. So that both your parents were in the army, you said?
No, Mum was in the Air Force a bit earlier than that, but she'd got out by that time, but yeah, travelling as a family, yeah.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
That would have been an expensive stay for a hospital visit in Singapore.
Well, it was an Australian military hospital.
Wow.
Changi, yeah, so,
that was lucky.
Yeah, so that was easy. And then back to Australia, and all around the place. Every 12 or 18 months, we sort of lived all over the place. Dad would come home from work and, right, pack your bags, we're moving in 2 weeks, and we'd be off here, there and everywhere.
Wow.
It was when Dad got out of the military back in '84. He got a job in Cairns running Coast Watch.
Okay.
And that's when we came to Cairns, and it's been home for me ever since. So I've been here for 34 years now.
Wow.
34 years now, and definitely home, and I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah. So what was it like then growing up on the road and moving every year?
It was really interesting. Like at the time, I remember it being quite frustrating because, you just settle into a school. If you're at a school for 12, maybe 18 months, so it takes time to
make friends.
We've got teenagers, so we know what it's like. It takes time for kids to make friends and, sporting groups and whatever else. And you just sort of start to get a bit of traction and settle in, and Dad would be like, right, pack your bags, we're out of here.
Oh, no.
And I remember driving out of a number of different places in the back of the car with my other siblings and whatever, and you'd have a tear rolling down your face thinking, your whole world's been turned upside down because you're losing your friends again. But looking back at it as an adult, and I've had the attitude for the last 20 odd years or whatever, particularly as I've sort of moved into politics and whatever, it was a really good training ground in hindsight because it's forced us to, my siblings included, and that it's forced all of us to be able to connect with people easily, understand lots of different cultures, different areas of Australia, different people, different attitude, and realise also, gives us a bigger perspective, but also realise the world doesn't revolve around us.
Yeah.
We're just part of it, and we've all got a part to play. So it's, life's got all sorts of twists and turns in it. You've got to take the good and the bad, but you've got to try and learn from both the good and the bad and see what you can do to make things better in the future. So, yeah, certainly interesting.
I bet. So what sort of places around Australia did you live?
We did a couple of stints in Canberra. We did, and that was either side of a posting to Bangkok in Thailand. So we went to an international school in Thailand when I was 10 or 11, back in 80, 81. And there was kids from 52 different countries there, but my siblings and we were the only Australians there.
Wow.
So it was based on the American school system, and that was interesting because we had lots of, I was always in trouble for getting in arguments with the teachers when they were pronouncing things like aluminum, and I'm saying, no, it's aluminium, sweetheart. No, it's aluminium, I'm telling you. Where I'm from, it's aluminium. That's all there is to it.
That's so funny.
It was interesting things like that, but it was interesting cultures, and you'd be walking to school sometimes and passing lepers in the streets and all this sort of stuff, Interesting to see. I've spent a bit of time in New Guinea and that as well, so it's quite interesting. We are so lucky and so blessed here in far north Queensland. I love it, and it's people say, "Oh, do you want to go travelling?" And I'm like, I've done enough of that. This is home for me, and this is where I want to have the biggest impact I can have on making things here even better and safer for our kids in the future.
So how many brothers and sisters do you have?
I've got one sister and two brothers.
Wow, so 4 of you would travel around the world basically on these postings. That's incredible.
Pretty much, and a few different places in Queensland and New South Wales, and so it's good. It's exciting.
So you're the youngest, eldest, middle?
I'm the second oldest.
Second oldest.
Yeah.
I like how you said the second oldest, not the middle.
Yeah. Technically the middle. I had an older sister who passed away when I was little. Actually, about a month when I was only a couple of months old. Yeah. Oh. Yeah, that was part of the reason why I came back to Australia.
Yeah. Oh, that's sad.
So,
and you've got children yourself?
Oh, we have. My wife and I got 5 kids.
Wow.
5 lovely kids, and they're all full of enthusiasm.
And how old are they?
They go from 14 to 20.
Wow.
So, yeah.
And you've got a grandbaby too.
I have. We do have a grandbaby, and he's the joy of our life at the moment, and he's absolutely very biased, and he's very, very gorgeous. Yeah.
And how did you meet your wife?
I met my wife at church, actually, in Mareeba.
Wow.
One of my best mates was trying to get me to go to church with him up in Mareeba there for a long time, and I've been in the church all my life. And so anyway, Ivan said, "Oh, come on, mate, I want to come up to church and got to meet this woman." I said, "Mate, I'm more happy to go to church, but don't introduce me to anybody." Anyway,
Yeah.
Well, let's not go there. But,
and then it happened.
Yeah, exactly.
You accidentally met.
Yeah.
Wow. And
lucky for me.
Yeah, definitely lucky for you. And she's a teacher as well.
She is, yes. She's a teacher. She runs a special ed unit.
Wow. Yeah. So tell me then, what did you want to be when you grew up? Did you always want to get into politics?
No, I didn't. But when I remember when I was, growing up, as I was becoming a teenager and whatever else, or when I started growing up, I haven't finished yet. I'm only 47. Men don't
Do men ever grow up?
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
you just get old on the outside.
Yeah, exactly right. So, but I remember at one stage, my mother, I've always been a bit of a negotiator, I guess, and I remember my mum saying to me one time, "Oh, you're so full of it, you're going to be a politician one day." So that's,
So you've made your mum proud.
Yeah, well, we'll see.
So what sort of things have you done in the past?
Well, when I grew up, while I was a kid, I always wanted to do something around the water. I've always been passionate about fishing. I remember for years, as we travelled to all these different places, one of the benefits that came out of that, we fished all around the place. Like when we lived in Bangkok, for instance, the streets would flood, like in Townsville at the moment, literally all over the place. Every time it rained, it was so flat and everything's so congested and whatever. And I would catch fish in the front yard with a scoop net and running around. So I was always, had
That's
buckets
hilarious.
and tubs in the front yard full of fish and stuff all the time. So
Did
all
you
over
eat them?
the place. No, not those particular ones, but
Not in Bangkok, on the streets of Bangkok after a flood.
No, exactly. But there's lots of different things. But I always wanted to fish, and wherever we went fishing, and then as I was too little to go out on the bigger boats and whatever, that Dad would go out fishing. Us kids would be left to fish on the beach and whatever else, and then I'd be reading his fishing magazines and all this, And I used to go. I can remember it as clear as anything. For years, I would go to sleep at night, be saying my prayers, and I would be like, "Can I just go to Cairns one day and go out on one of those marlin boats?" And it was incredible. And then fast forward, what am I now, 47, for the last 10 years, I've been heading up the Game Fishing Association here, and I've been driving game boats here for 25 years or whatever it is now, and catching these gigantic marlin all around the world. So it was amazing how just a little seed of a thought of, can I do it once, to it becoming my main source of income for 25 years.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it's incredible. Yeah, so it's amazing when you focus on something, how it becomes a reality. That's what's important. I was saying to our kids, you got to be, be careful what you focus on, because that can often expand into
Definitely.
where you go. So make it a good thing and positive. And
great piece of advice there. So what's been one of your best personal achievements then?
Well, personally, I think the best achievement, it's probably not the right word for it, but is winning the heart of my wife.
Oh,
I know that sounds a bit soppy, but
we like
she's
soppy
just
here.
beautiful.
We really like soppy here.
Absolutely beautiful. Very, very lucky there. And last year we got to put a satellite tag in a whale shark out in the Coral Sea. That was pretty spectacular. First time a whale shark's been satellite tagged on this side of the country. So it's amazing to see where he's travelling at the moment. So and that's a project I've wanted wanted to do for a long time, so it was very exciting. Professionally, I guess the most exciting and thing that I can put a achievement to, I guess you'd say, is when I was able to convince all 11 crossbench senators to support the revised Marine Park Plan. That's the only occasion the government's had the full support of the crossbench on any issue. So to be able to do that from outside of Parliament, and I was completely immersed in that issue for over 10 years. So it was there was a lot of bumps and twists and turns, and several changes of government, lots of different ministers and tons of different bureaucrats and all the rest of it, and a never-changing crossbench in the Senate. So to be able to do that, I think, was really, and great for the region too. It was just goes to show what can happen when you focus on something. Lock onto it like a pit bull on a ball pig and don't let go.
Yeah, because what did that mean when that decision got passed?
Well, it changed the alternative result. If we weren't able to achieve that, what was going to happen is we were all going to basically be locked out of the Coral Sea. And when you think about what's actually going on out there, there's no negative impact or whatever. It was just an ideological based push that was going to have massive negative impact on our regional economy here, and it wasn't going to achieve anything as such. It wasn't going to protect anything that's not already protected, if that makes sense, in just a simple form. Otherwise I can talk all day on it.
That's great. So what's then the best piece of advice we've been given?
Well, I've been fortunate enough to have been given a lot of good advice from some incredible people over the years, and the way I sort of operate is you've got to start, whatever you do, you've got to start with the end goal in mind. You've got to work out how you're going to get there. Don't worry about this, it's impossible business. Impossible, if we all sat there and go, I can't do that because it's impossible, nothing would happen. We wouldn't be driving around in motor cars, we certainly wouldn't be flying in aeroplanes, and there's a million other things we all do each and every day that we take for granted wouldn't have happened if people had stopped at it's impossible or you can't do it. So I always look at things, okay, how far can you dream? How big can you see things? Work out the best course to get there with what you know at this point, because you're going to be continually learning as you go down a path, and then just pin your ears back and go for it.
Yeah.
Flat stick. And that's how I sum up the accumulation of all the great bits of advice I've been lucky enough to be given,
Lovely. Now, my last question is, if you could have dinner with 3 people, whether past or present, who would they be and why?
Now, that is a very
tricky question.
Yeah, it's a very tricky question. And when I saw that, I thought, well, where do we go with this? But I think the first thing that comes to mind isn't a movie star or Donald Trump or anybody like that. It's more about how could I influence through conversation people that UNESCO for a start. I'd love to sit down and have dinner with whoever it is, I probably should know, that's running UNESCO. Because unfortunately a lot of the things that have stifled growth in far north Queensland have come from agendas pushed by organisations like UNESCO, and unfortunately a lot of it's unfounded positions or whatever. I'm not saying they've got it wrong, they just don't know. It's just like, I don't know a lot of things that go on in Melbourne. I wouldn't have the hide to go down there and tell them how to live, what they can and can't do in their beaches, what they can and can't do in their schools or whatever else. But here in far north Queensland, we're subjected to people from UNESCO, America, all the rest of it, down south or whatever, telling us what we can and can't do here, when in most cases they're thousands and thousands of kilometres away from the issues that we face every day. So I think I would like to have some conversations like that and just try and work on massaging the perspective and relieve some of their fears, because their fears are real. I appreciate that. No one wants to see the death of the Great Barrier Reef, certainly not me. I've spent 34 years of my life out there. I know it very, very well, and I love it passionately. So the last thing I want to see is anything negative happen about it. But we've got to put things into a bit of perspective rather than having a view from outside that's not quite accurate, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Who else? 2 more.
Well, I would like to talk to Mike Pence, and I would love to see him, especially when he was in Cairns here only a little while ago. That would be quite good, and also people from all those different organisations like the World Heritage Foundation and that for those same reasons. To me, it's about what we can do for Far North Queensland, and look back at what are the handbrakes on our area, because I'm not going anywhere, and we live and breathe every day the issues, and we bang our head against the wall. That's why we've been talking about Nolinga Dam for 53 years, and it's still just a piece of paper instead of a big bucket of water, so to speak, and that's because of things getting in the way all the time. So we need to get a few of those things out of the way and get on with it, because our kids, I want all our kids to grow up here. I want to spend time around my grandbaby and the other grandchildren we're lucky enough to have, and I want them to be able to grow their futures in this region without having to go south to study or get a career or get into a job or an industry where they can set themselves up financially into the future and doing the various things they're looking at doing. I want that to be able to happen here. So the only way that's going to happen is we grow our region and grow our economy and remove some of the handbrakes. So it sounds a bit like a political speech, but it's a real thing that we all face, mums and dads and families in general. And we've all got a role to play in improving that area. So
if you had a magic wand and you could have one major wish for Cairns, what would it be?
Well, I think it would be to change the attitude of government on our region. We are used as the environmental conscience of Australia. It's like the major capital cities, they've by and large wiped out their environment, and then they seem to have this opinion that they can determine what we do with our environment. No one wants to have a negative impact on our environment in North Queensland. We live here because of our environment, but at the same time there's a lot of things that we can do that can enhance our environment and grow our community. Like you look at the people on the Cape, there's very few cattle properties left. Most of the place is locked up in Indigenous land, and I don't say that in a negative way, but it's, the Indigenous people themselves, their hands have been tied behind their back. They can't use it. It's crazy. And we have, unacceptably high unemployment in those areas. We have bad health situations in those communities, and it's because their hands have been tied behind their back. So we need to break those shackles off. We need to seal the Peninsula Development Road. Is a major key to unlocking those shackles. We need to fix up the land tenures, and I can go on and on and on about the things we need to do, but it's that the foundational issue there is the attitude of let's lock everything up and keep a lid on everything. We don't want any growth, we don't want any development, and that's why we've got these situations. So no one wants to turn Cape York into a tourist resort as such, but we need to have different things here and there and just allow people to grow.
Well, thank you for having a cup of tea with me today. It was great to get to know you a little bit better.
Thanks, Bree.
And hear all about what your passions are. So if you would like to see more about Daniel, definitely go check out his website. But of course, if you want to see more episodes of our Cup of Tea with Bree segment, then make sure you subscribe to our channel, hit the notification bell so you never miss out on a new episode. I'll see you next time.